The story begins on a rather somber note, as we see a mother pass away in front of her child in the hospital room. It's a rather unpleasant sight, but then someone mentions that death is born each time a life is lost. Suddenly, a mysterious Shadow Lord appears in front of the dead mother and raises his hand to pull out her soul. As he does this, the Shadow Lord states that the only purpose of death is for the soul of the deceased to undergo judgment. He does the same thing with the mother's soul, and then we learn that these energy balls are called solar energy, which do not possess human emotions or intelligence. If the solar energy is spotless, then it deserves to be sent to heaven. But if there's even a slight speckle, then hell is the only destination for it. That's when we learn that solar energy is used to power up both heaven and hell, which means that humans live out their entire lives harvesting solar energy, only for it to be sent as a battery for the spiritual realms beyond the world. Now, we move on to another chapter in the real world where we see some people running away from a demon lord named Adramlich in the middle of chaos and destruction. A narrator mentions that this demon lord is the very personification of Bedlam, as he wreaks havoc everywhere with his flames and his merciless powers. The innocent civilians can only run away in fear, wondering what on earth has just happened. We get a good look at Adramlich, who isn't just the demon lord, but also has an evil smile on his face. And then he quickly jumps in front of the fleeing survivors to give them a scare. The demon lord looks at the humans with a twisted smile and tells them that he's looking for 3 volunteers. This is a rather specific number, so the humans want to know what they are needed for, but Adramlich doesn't give them any answer and starts to ponder the reason by himself. He gives his hostages a sneaky smile and states that they will find out soon enough. Eventually, the demon lord does end up picking 3 volunteers, and he dresses them up as cult members and tree stands. Then volunteers look like they're in discomfort, but Adramlich doesn't care about them and forces his hostages to chant some weird slogans. It clearly looks like a ritual summoning, as the innocent victims have no other option but to do as they're told. The demon lord witnesses the ritual starting to take effect, so he laughs with enthusiasm and states that he's outdone himself this time. However, he gets interrupted when he sees the humans coughing up blood, probably because the ritual is taking too much out of their bodies. Regardless, the tree stands start to reach out via their elongated hands, and the demon lord takes this as a sign that his work here is almost done. As this process takes place, he also says that his 3 volunteers are the chosen ones, and then the tree stands form into a collective bunch while Adramlich stands on top of a cult symbol, which is assumed to be a summoning symbol. He states that all the pieces have fallen into place, and then he raises his hands to call upon the powers of evil. An overpowered beam of light blasts itself at the demon lord and covers him up with a new aura of energy. The volunteers start to suffer now, but all they hear is a voice telling them to pray for their safety. Adramlich is merciless with his instructions, and then the night sky opens up, almost like a cyclone. After the intense display of visuals, a giant hand shows itself, and this brings tears to the demon lord's eyes. He is of the opinion that the salvation of hell is just around the corner, and then we witness a giant eye as well. The villain smiles as if he's won a great war, but then there's a twist as an entire army of Shadow Lords drop from the sky in a scene that's almost reminiscent of fallen angels. The Shadow Lords take a quick look at what's going on, and lament that things are only going to get further out of hand if the Demon Lord continues with his ways over here. As the Shadow Lords try to figure what's happening here, one of them points out to the Demon Lord and states that he's alone. This is a good opportunity to make use of their numbers, but another Shadow Lord states that something is fishy about the Demon Lord, so they shouldn't act in such haste. He continues by saying that Adramlich was able to reverse track the Shadow Lords by using solar energy, and this is a cause of concern. Before the Shadow Lords can continue with their discussion, the Demon Lord raises his hand and reveals it to be filled with eyes similar to those of the Shadow Lords and their heads. Suddenly, the entire army is wrapped around an energy rope and is made to look weak in front of the Demon Lord. He orders them all to shut up because he doesn't consider them worthy enough to speak in his presence. Now, he takes us on a trip down memory lane to let us know just how treacherous his own journey has been right from the start. We see a flashback to when the Demon Lord bows down in front of his master, asking for forgiveness because of something that doesn't seem to be his fault. Back to the present, our villain declares that he's spent years of his life in a quest to crystallize his vision and make his master proud. However, one of the Shadow Lords pleads with him to stop, because it's highly possible that the distribution of solar energy in this manner is not really the best way to utilize the advantage over the Shadow Lords. He even states that these acts are going to disrupt the balance of the universe, but the Demon Lord is simply amused to hear this and berates the hostage by saying he's here to do things his way. Instead, he presents an alternate perspective on the way Shadow Lords visit dying humans for solar energy, almost as if they are agents of death. He adds that the Shadow Lords might not know what stage their souls are in at the time of harvesting them, so they have been carrying out a fruitless activity without anything to show for it. All the Shadow Lords seem to catch on to this, and they are shocked by this sudden revelation. The Demon Lord is a little surprised to see how quick they are on their feet, and then he compliments their critical thinking. He goes on to explain to the Death Incarnate that Hell has been suffering a lot recently. This is because most of the soul energy is being sent to heaven rather than hell. The Shadow Lords try to explain that this isn't something in their control, but this only takes the situation further beyond, as the Demon Lord says that the King of Hell will not stand for such unfair treatment, and will take what is rightfully his. The Demon Lord introduces himself as a Draimlich, a brutal beast who spares nobody at all, as he invites all the people to gather around the show he's putting up. After that, the Demon Lord uses his powers to control all the Shadow Lords, and he even declares that he's here to make the status quo better. A Draimlich raises his hands and lifts the surviving volunteers and says that he will create a monopoly for solar energy, and also death, but only when it comes to the volunteers. They try to resist his devilish charm, but a Draimlich is just too overpowered for their liking. He gives the team a sneak peek into his new god mode by saying he is the most powerful being in the universe right now. With his new power, a Draimlich can even order death what to do, so he basks in the glory of his achievements. There's no time to waste, so a Draimlich decides to punish the Shadow Lords for being too nosy. He blasts a surge of lightning to all his hostages, and they know for sure that they're dealing with someone dead serious about his powers. One of the Shadow Lords seems to know someone who can get the job done and defeat this newly empowered Demon Lord. He even calls out to this supposed hero, but it's of no use because nobody is there. The Draimlich also berates the Shadow Lords because he knows that their savior isn't coming today to save them. Anyway, the Demon Lord figures it's time to get down to business, so he figures out a way to show off his true powers. However, he slowly senses someone approaching him, and it seems to be human, even though he's brainlessly charging at a Draimlich. The miles start to shorten, and the Demon Lord begins to grow worried, so he prepares himself for what might just be an epic battle. He decides to go the easy way, and unleashes a flame blast on his mystery opponent from a distance. A Draimlich hopes that he managed to get rid of the nuisance, and then he turns around to resume his evil plan. However, it turns out that the opponent hasn't been affected by the recent blast, and then he shows up from behind to give the Demon Lord a kicking of a lifetime. Next thing you know, a Draimlich is getting worried because his black hole power gets unleashed, but not by his own will. He tries his best to reduce the heat of the black hole, but it doesn't seem to work, even if it's on his own body. A hilarious sequence follows, as the Demon Lord is unable to control his own powers now. After a long struggle, he seems to have finally stopped his attack, but his relief only lasts for a couple of minutes, as the black hole appears once again. And this time, it spares no mercy as it releases all its powers on a Draimlich. The Demon Lord takes a bad hit, and wonders who could it be to have ruined his elite plan. That's when our hero finally makes his appearance in rather fashionable style. But the Demon Lord would like to know who on earth this man is. Either way, it seems like there's going to be an epic battle on our hands. However, this is the end for now. Like, share, and subscribe if you want me to continue. See you soon.